Hello, team. Welcome back to another Line Warcast. Today's game is Someone Said That My Nickname Sucks in blue. We'll refer to them as Nickname from now on, against Orb, also known as, at least to us, Orb. I just called them Orb twice. I meant to say Orbnet the first time. Either way, top of the ladder players. Today's game is a lot different because this is not a ladder match. We can take a look at the map as we're kind of waiting. It's not a ladder match. This is a match played in the beta for Line War, like in the patch rather. So these are some top ladder players who are giving feedback to the developers on balance changes and what's gone on here. The main things to know about the difference between this and every other video on the channel, which are again just normal ladder matches and tournament matches from the previous patch, is that infantry have gotten have received quite a large buff here, and it's on their movement speed. I'll go over all the individual patch differences in a second. We can first watch what's going on here. So Nickname spawned on the bottom side goes to dock quickly, which is very commonplace for Nickname, especially on an island like here. You want to get off of this little landmass. You want to start conquering other landmasses. Orb themselves is going for an airport and two airport dock. So this is likely going to be strikers, I feel like, given the location of these airfields. Neither player knows that they've spawned beside each other. We can look at Nickname's vision again. Yeah, so Nickname still doesn't know that Orb is here, although both players were picking these territories. These were the ones in red in the pre-pick phase. So both players know that this was sort of where they both wanted to go. Orb is building another dock on the right, of course, in the same reason that I like this play out of Nickname. Love this play out of Orb. Nickname following up with a town and an airport. This town must have been built with pre-construction money, and the bet with building economy so quick is that your opponent is not going to be able to kill your economy, and that 7 minutes in general will elapse so that you actually get the return on investment on this. Back to the main thing, as Nickname's gonna send this this transport ship across and finally figure out that Orb is here, and vice versa. Orb will figure out that Nickname's here. The patch notes. Entrenched units, 20% extra armor against the grenade being artillery shots. So this means entrenched units should be able to put up like a better fight against artillery. One of the big gripes is that artillery SAM blobs kind of like are very powerful. There's of course a bunch of nuance to it. It's a balanced discussion, right? So there's a million different reasons and feelings on what is going on and how, like where the game can and should go. But certainly one of the goals, it looks like, is to open up more variety in playstyle. So that's your first big one. Entrenched units are going to take less damage from artillery. Number two, entrenched units, we get a weapon range buff on everything in an entrenched unit. And when we talk about entrenched units, we haven't seen one obviously in this game, but when your units dig in, they build the sandbags, they do their stretches after digging in, the whole deal. Those units, hopefully we get to see one. They have a better, range when they're sitting in that defensive thing. So something like, before, if a unit was walking up to an entrenched position, it was really only one, maybe two units that from the defending side that could actually attack. Whereas here, with a little bit of weapon range buff, more units in that entrenched position should be able to attack. So it's not going to be a huge, like you won't be able to just roll over those entrenched positions as well. Number three, which is the big one, in my opinion, the thing I'm most excited about, two strikers from Orb. I mean, this is likely just scouting or even trying to pick off the ship or lands them right away. Is that infantry, they've got a speed buff from 3.7 to 4.0. Now, I don't know if all of these exact changes are going to stay in the post, like when the patch goes live, so take it with a grain of salt. Join the Discord if you'd like to like read more about the patch notes and what's going on. But in this game, my understanding is that this is with the quicker 4.0 movement speed infantry. Nickname's going to get the top right island. This is a bunch of economy, so that's going to be huge. Orb's focusing on the left side. We'll do an economy check real quick. 425 for Nickname and 356 for Orb. So Orb could probably use these strikers to start hitting docks, but I'm not sure what Orb has has planned for this. Obviously, an expansion here, Orb is now going to know that Nickname is trying to get up here, and I think that becomes a problem for Orb in a lot of ways, because Orb knows that Nickname spawned on the south side. So Orb definitely wants to, like, doesn't want to get beat to this huge landmass, and especially not this far north on it. Here comes first gas for Orb. Nickname, we can see more development. It's, what is in the forest here? It's just a barracks. So this is probably going to be commando drops. Yep, and here you go, transport plane. So Nickname's going to load up a bunch of commandos here and start dropping them, presumably on the left island. Could even go for the main island, pardon me, of Orb, to try to, like, snipe these airports, maybe even a gas, a dock, whatever. Back to the rambling about the patch notes, because I've done the longest way to talk about this. Fourth change is that Hellfire and Maverick damage nerf versus Rifleman, down 20%. What is Hellfire and Maverick damage, you ask? That's the rockets from helicopters and strikers, respectively. Riflemen are all commandos and infantry. That is an important distinction to remember. This is a wild 1v1 fight now. Holy cow. So what this means is implicitly bombers might get a little bit of a nerf, or a little bit of a buff to deal with commando run-bys and infantry in general. We'll see how these sorts of things play out, but certainly it's a little bit of a nerf to the, you know, the striker and helicopters. Makes infantry more resilient. Rather, I should say, riflemen more resilient. And it should have, in some ways, I feel like, buff commando run-bys. But of course, I don't know. I mean, these are all the sort of things that you learn after the meta kind of establishes itself, and you know, whatever further changes need to happen. And that's the beautiful thing about a community that's involved and cares about trying to make the game better all the time. These three strikers can't really kill a building on the first pass, but now Orb probably sees this. Or see, there's not enough vision with three strikers. Orb didn't even spot any of the buildings in the forest, which is unfortunate for Orb. Orb's now going for a landing here. There will be a decent amount of infantry, but of course this is Nickname's island. The Nickname's not going to lose it. Perfect positioning from Nickname on these missile boats to bring them back into position, potentially snipe a striker. Unfortunate that they were not able to do that. Orb's going to take this top right island because this one infantry is not going to cut it. The fifth change. The surface-to-air missile unit from the factory and missile ships get a range buff on their missiles specifically, not their machine guns, which actually do more DPS, pardon me, but the missiles that they shoot at planes get a range buff from 8.0 to 9.0, which is a 12.5% increase. Right, so that really helps with SAMs being able to survive longer, staying in the back. Missile boats, best DPS in the game against air units, gets a little bit better. This is a wild run by from Nickname. Orb's microing it, so I don't know what happened here, unfortunately, for Nickname, but this was maybe a good scout by Nickname to, like, really confirm that there's a gas and this is where the dock is. But two airports almost full of strikers now for Orb, which can get sort of devastating. Love the bomber play from Nickname. Because bombers here are actually going to be huge, and we're going to see there is a missile pardon me, buff on these missile ships, right? Like the range of them. But bombers, they don't have to get hit by the machine gun of these boats. So like they actually do very decent unless there's interceptors in the air in general. Now that there's three missile boats that were killed from Nickname, like Orb is able to take them out, these strikers are able to get a great attack on this dock, and is going to take it out. Economy check on here, Nickname is at 667 and Orb is at 476. It's going to cost Orb probably one plane. It's great for Orb. This is a fantastic strike, although the economy of Nickname is really starting to pull away. I mean, this was now like 3 planes, potentially even 4, really. Where's the range buff? Not quite enough to kill that last plane. This will be cleaned up by Nickname. And of course, in this game, I think Nickname is generally winning. Orb needs to start taking this landmass in the top to make sure the economy stays even. But Orb's almost out of gas. Unfortunately, they can't keep launching strikers like over to the right or something. We'll keep an eye on it. The final change in the patch is that the artillery grenade versus land units gets a nerf from 3.6 damage to 3.2, which is an 11% decrease. in the damage. So, I mean, the patch notes even say the simple solution to nerfing the blob as it affects all artillery units participating in the blob. So anything in the blob, you know, artillery won't do as much damage to that. I've done a terrible job to explain this, but it just makes the artillery sand blob obviously not as good, because your artillery doesn't do as much damage on the ground. Nickname is certainly winning economy-wise. Gas-wise, Nickname is to secure a second gas at some point. There is a quick second gas here. Huge run by from Orb with this one infantry. I said this was going to get cleared up, but apparently not. Nickname's out of gas, so this is a good trade for Orb right now, because boats that are out of gas and units that are out of gas in general take more damage when they're being attacked. So Orb is fine. It's, of course, numbers-wise, Orb is not going to be able to handle this, but it is should be a decent trade still, especially if Orb can kill this gas. That would be enormous. We can see that Nickname's got a port already on the bottom town. I think that transport boat just killed a missile ship. Holy cow, that would have been wild. Here comes all these strikers. The strikers will clean this up, especially because Nickname's out of gas. Orb has a bunch of gas. I mean, as long as these boats can actually move, this is a huge play. Like, Nickname sees that the second gas is here, and if you can snipe your opponent's second gas, it's one of the best ways that you can just stunt, like, any momentum. Like, the momentum that Orb has now picked up by killing this gas, and potentially and hopefully protecting this other gas, Nickname's gonna, you know, be able, like, that's gonna be a big momentum stopper, right? Nickname even has more gases down here. I didn't even realize. Nickname's taking 2 on the bottom. They're getting this whole right side of the map. Economy-wise, Nickname's floating 1k, 847 income per minute, 584 income per minute for Orb with 400. Now they just spent something. Here comes bombers. So let's see how this plays out. The infantry, you can just see they move a little bit quicker, so they cap way more. It kind of like ups the pacing of the game. Strikers don't do much against bombers. Remember, this is unaffected by the balance. This is a little bit affected by the balance, since these strikers are going to do 20% less damage against commandos. And bombers are so big if your opponent doesn't have interceptors or like enough SAMs or missile boats around. Bombers are going to get that gas. That leaves Orb with no gas on 2 airports, 2 docks, no gas. I think that's not the beginning of the end, but it certainly makes it even more difficult for Orb to come back here. Orb building the gas on the right side of the island now. Missile boats will be able to help protect this, although again, bombers don't get hit by the machine gun from missile boats, which does the most DPS. They only get hit by the missiles, but there's a missile buff. Who knows? We'll watch how that plays out. As for like map development, Nickname is still sitting on a lot of money, which isn't always bad or anything. You know, you keep the upkeep low by not having buildings, although this might just be both players are playing on the patch, right? They want to understand what it feels like using different units. You know, this is not a ladder game, so I'm not sure what the intention is of both players, but certainly this is looking bad for Orb on this middle island. So like we can take a look at these infantry, right? This is probably not the best, but the best example. It's kind of hard to see that infantry do move quicker, but I'd assume by playing and over time, infantry moving quicker changes the meta entirely. Right? We've seen some folks in Discord talking about, well, you'll never make a factory again. That's not true. I'm paraphrasing and exaggerating the claim. But certainly the opener where you go for a factory and you start pumping artillery right away might not make as much sense as just going for more barracks. Barracks are always going to kind of make you money in a lot of ways. Your infantry is going to be able to cap land, and now that they cap land even quicker, it makes more sense to prefer a barrack style opener, which for me personally, I love playing barracks, so I'm looking forward to it. We saw a little bit of the patch interaction here with strikers attacking the commandos. I mean, money wise, it's just not like, sorry, units wise, Orb has way more. And that's probably an interaction too. That might have been more range on that missile. And I like that. I don't know. I think that's good. in the spirit of what a missile boat's supposed to do. More barracks for Nickname. Going for a fight here. Quick infantry. Like, this is what infantry look like now moving just at a normal pace, right? We can see that this is a normal move command. And this looks like they're sprinting almost. Rather from pre-patch. Maybe it's... No, this isn't a placebo. These units are moving quicker than they used to. Nickname's probably going to be able to overrun that over time. More bombers right on the airport. I think Nickname's actually targeting. Yeah, Nickname is targeting. Missile boats still get to hit this. But, I mean, over time, this is probably going to die, I'd assume. So 6 missiles, 7 missiles kill a bomber. See, so with the patch, because these strikers don't do as much damage to commandos, and because infantry can actually move quicker now, infantry specifically, not all riflemen got the speed buff, only infantry. So you can now start to kind of field more of these commando run-bys with just infantry. Surely if Orb had the gas, they would just, you know, shoot strikers at this commando group, but you don't have to rely all the time on having your strikers in the best position to deal with commandos, especially since if you're playing with more barracks, presumably, you have more barracks all around the map, so you can just divert stuff or build garrisons everywhere. I don't know if that's how it's going to actually play out. That's just how I'd imagine it could play out. It's unfortunate for Nickname that Nickname hasn't been able to kill the airports on the island for Orb, because it's been very close, right? But now I don't think... Yeah, Nickname only has 1 more bomber. Still looking very good for Nickname, though. This landing is what we can look at. I mean, Nickname probably will divert. Yeah, exactly. Divert the landing ship so it's not running right into Orb. I agree with Orb that going for more production up here is the play. And see, this might be a patch thing. This is a 4th barracks. Now, would you probably put a factory there? Maybe. If you, like, pre-patch, so to speak, I'm not actually sure. There's... Orb could... Or Nickname could definitely have planes up here, so I don't think it would be super weird to see 3 barracks in a factory in the north from Orb, with 1 going for SAMs or some mixture of SAMs and artillery. So maybe that is a feeling in the patch, that they want to do this differently and just go all barracks. Nickname's going to start chipping away at Orb's economy here. 1241 income for Nickname. 680 for Orb. So this is a discrepancy at this point. If Orb could maybe hold off for a while and cap this whole top island, I never even noticed that these are actually all connected. Maybe this will work out. We finally hear the first factory of the game. Nickname has one in that southern forest, but it's pretty new. This is Orb's first factory, and Nickname finally has a factory, but it's only produced 2 SAMs. It's 19 minutes into a game here. And I mean, this is a sample size of 1 for like post-patch, but I feel like there is more infantry at play here. It's interesting, you know, it's wild how little changes to unit balance. It just changes the way that players approach the game entirely. I mean, that's the point, right? 3 barracks here for Nickname, 4 on the top for Orb. Probably going to see more barracks pretty soon. The one problem for Orb is that Orb is going to lose these airports. Like right now even. Because 2 bombers is going to be enough. If these bombers start to actually hit the airports, Nickname only has commandos targeting the airport. Orb's definitely going to need to get commandos set up here. And we heard docks. I'm pretty sure those were docks, right? Yep. 2 docks for Nickname on the bottom right. Trade route slowly well, I mean, Nickname doesn't own the other landmass to make a trade route, but getting a port and a town, it just increases Nickname's economic lead. It's really interesting to think if Orb's going to be able to capture the top. There's still more commandos going on the left side for Nickname with those commando drops. Orb is slowly running out of gas. Like, look at how quick these infantry move, right? You can capture way more territory. And the beautiful thing about developing territory with infantry as your main source of economy is that you get the economy income right away. The second you capture that territory, it starts working for you. Unlike a town or a city or an industry where you have to spend money, wait the time for it to be, built, and you don't get a break even point on your money until generally like 7 minutes into the game, which isn't bad by any means. It calls for a different tactical situation. And of course, then you don't have more infantry to cap, because instead of building it, if you built a barracks instead of a town, well, in the time that the town's built, you're gonna have like what, 6 infantry, 5 infantry, something like that, and they can go out and cap more. Hopefully that made sense. Using the strikers like this for Orb is really big, to actually keep making them useful and keep getting good trades. More barracks on the left side for Orb, and if we saw a 4th barracks for Orb on the north. I like this. I think that this is going to be a big part of the map. Look at how much economy that Nickname has. For Orb, it's almost probably over already just because of the huge disparity in income. Again, I don't know, both players. This is just on patch. They might be messing around and trying out different things. But we'll see how this plays out. Orb's definitely out of gas. Nickname has tons of gas. Nickname will crush this naval engagement just based on the lack of gas from Orb. I mean, there's three cruisers, which cruisers do a bunch of damage against the missile ships like this. Nickname's also retreat moving these, which I don't know how this works. Surely it's intentional. Is it to get at the dock, maybe? And just try to snipe the dock? I'm surprised this wasn't just like an attack move. This circle is a retreat move, so these boats are kind of trying to peel through. Either way, Nickname's good. I mean, Nickname can throw away all of this and then just still develop on all this economy. Cruisers do huge damage. Orb keeping the strikers down is good because these boats keep their gas so they can actually do a lot of damage. Like, look at it. There's 4 barracks, and these units move so quickly. Like, these infantry just move so quick. Yeah, is there any more economic development? I mean, Nickname's going to start getting this bottom left building, and yeah, Orb needs to turn around to try to stop the advance. Here comes this missile range buff from the SAMs. Maybe we get to see it. If that shoots, yeah, I feel like that was... I don't know if that's the distance pre-patch would send the missile, but clearly, there's some longer shots. Those cases where you're gonna last hit a plane with a missile boat or a SAM with a rocket is, I think, it goes up quite a bit when you're getting 1.0 more range on the unit. These bombers might not have been trading efficiently lately because there's not enough numbers of the bombers, but I still like that the bombers are just being annoying. It forces Orb to keep some boats close to home, build a factory for SAMs. This is a big force. This is a huge place for Orb to fight, because they need to, they can't allow Nickname to push this just super easily. This will be hard enough to defend for Orb. Yeah, see, this is a lot of infantry, which makes you want to build artillery now. It's an interesting dynamic. This is a great little attack line. I feel like that's something that I personally don't do enough when playing, is making this small little attack line so the strikers actually follow this path. Keep away from the ocean for any boats that Nickname might have. Really just get a different angle of attack on your opponent. This is a great gas snipe by Nickname, and it certainly is a snipe. Like, these infantry are moving so quick to get on top of this gas. And yeah, if you look at this on mass, you can really see, like, these units are moving quicker. Like, Orb's units aren't on sprint commands. This is how quick the barracks units are going to move, and do move in this patch. Great gas snap by Nickname. That's gotta be it. City in the bottom right for Nickname. That is an enormous amount of capital. This is a great landing by Orb. Although with 3 barracks, if Nickname groups up units in these mountains, it's gonna be tough for Orb to get through. And this is wonderful. There's like 7 SAMs or something entrenched in the forest. So of course we know that these units got buffed, right? Entrenched units. So there's actually a range buff on the SAMs. I wonder and assume that that would count towards both missiles and their machine guns against anti-air. I'm not sure, but it might just be a land unit thing. There's still 2 full airports of strikers for Orb, and I mean, Orb could hit these barracks if Orb knew. We can look at Orb's vision. So Orb doesn't know about the mountains yet. Once they spot them, they'll be able to actually hit it with strikers, which would be huge. But we can see Nickname's winning here. This is a very important part of the map. These strikers will help, but 20%, you know, nerf against all these infantry. So you're doing a 1/5 less damage. I think I could do math. Very good game, and that was wonderful to see the patch. I appreciate that both players went for a lot of barracks, and I guess that makes a lot of sense, given the new stats. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. I'm very excited for the patch, and if you'd like to come hang out, talk about the patch, talk about the development build, or just in general Line War, please join the Discord. Come say hi, come hang out. And yeah, we'll see you around. Enjoy your day, night, evening, whatever it is. Oh, and shameless self-plug. My name is SodaQuackers, both on the Discord and, of course, Twitch, where I'm myself and others stream Line War. Come say hello. See you, folks. Peace.